Good morning, happy Tuesday, and welcome to another episode of Tea and Coffee with Paula and
Jay. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all well. And here we are, back on a Tuesday. I'm excited and feeling pretty good. My croaky voice is gone.
Yeah,
it's kind of gone, almost gone.
Yeah, we're feeling.
Sorry, Paula and Jay in the morning.
Yeah, we're feeling better. We're feeling better. This is the lingerings of it. The kids are much better as well. And so if this has been the winter illness, that's fine. Got it done.
We'll take it. We'll take it. It didn't hit me the way it hit the three of you because you guys got all runny and stuff. But I don't think I had the time. It wasn't in my schedule. So I just couldn't make it happen. Sorry.
No, I really think psychologically it hit me hard Saturday night because I was done with everything. So we were having dinner with Bruce and Nadine and a couple of other guests. And it was like, okay, yeah, now it's starting to hit me hard. And then I got home and I was like, I'm done.
You got your days mixed up. The dinner was Friday and we went for Boston Pizza Saturday. Nadine and Bruce weren't there. They had to go back to the airport.
Oh, that's right. So it was, yes. So when was it? It hit me after Buck Creek, so it would have been the dinner on Saturday.
Right. So that was at Boston Pizza.
Yeah.
With the kids and our good friend, vendor,
BT,
BT.
Talolicious.
Yep. But yeah, that's what happens when you're so busy. You mix up your days. It's like, we were giving birth the other day, weren't we? Like,
that was many, many moons ago before that happened. But yeah, so feeling much better now after the crash of Sunday. Good. So bad I had to miss church because I don't think anyone would have wanted me coughing and sneezing and spluttering around them at that time.
You and Jacob were missed, mostly Jacob.
Oh, yeah.
People were asking, where is he? Where's my little hug? And I said, he's sick today. You don't want it. They'll still take it, but no, he couldn't make it.
Yeah.
JJ and I were there. We did our thing. Did some learning. It was a great sermon, by the way. It was about wise people and fools. And, you could be super accomplished and top of your chain of your profession and still be a fool. A fool is somebody who was not open to learning. They think they know everything. We know some of those type of people.
Oh, we do. I pity the fool. I was just waiting to say that. Get on, Mr. Yeah.
For the younger folks, there was a guy on TV. It would pity the fool. He wore a lot of chains.
One of the greatest shows ever, The A-Team.
You like that?
Oh, I did. I used to watch that. Love that stuff.
Yeah. No, it was fun. It was always like everything would be solved by the end of this episode. Drive around with their van. Funky stuff goes on. Helicopter. I remember the helicopter.
Yeah, no, it'd be hilarious. Like they're stuck in some derelict shed with nothing but a broken down lawnmower, some old hoses that don't work, and whatever, a bit of glue, and all of a sudden they've MacGyvered something as another side show, and then all of a sudden they've broken free and they've made their escape. It's fantastic.
You just stole my memory. I was going to mention MacGyver, and I think the rumor is that MacGyver was taken off the air when they showed how to get free phone calls at a telephone booth. Because he was short circuit, and apparently that was enough for them to be upset or something. I got to look into that more.
Wow.
Because growing up, it was canceled, and I loved that show. MacGyver was awesome.
Yeah, I never watched MacGyver. I just know of the term to MacGyver something.
What? I didn't know this before the wedding, folks. I didn't know this before the wedding.
Yeah, I never watched MacGyver. We didn't know it existed. I knew of the A-Team. What other shows were there back in the day? Because again, didn't grow up here, so I don't know the full TV guide of 80s. TV shows.
Probably stuck on Golden Girls or something. Like
Golden Girls rocked, my friend.
What a shock!
Golden Girls rocked, but that wasn't the 90s. Oh no, it's
probably late 80s. Yeah, probably in the 80s era. Yeah, and MacGyver, no MacGyver, huh?
No. A-Team was my show. Yeah, no MacGyver. I just knew of it when I came to this side of the pond, and I was like, oh, it looks very, very similar to end of A-Team episodes.
Maybe A-Team stole from MacGyver. Maybe. You're talking about that. I'm like, you're talking about MacGyver. And then you said MacGyver it, so you know the verb. But you haven't seen the show.
No.
Folks, guess what she's watching? She's going to binge them all.
Binge watch the episodes of MacGyver. Yeah, that's cool.
Good morning, Martin. Nice to see you there. Thanks for reaching out yesterday. Yes, I'm going to be in Ontario in early February.
Mute me, I'm about to cough.
I think I just got it done.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as Paula says, we kind of finished everything, but not really. Still planning out the next
lingering,
things.
yeah.
No, I meant
Oh,
the
stuff to
touring.
do? Yeah.
Yeah. So early February, going to be right around northwest Alberta up to Grand Prairie and a bunch of stops in between. That's coming together. The plan's coming together. It will be with Dr. Roger Hodgkinson and possibly one more special guest. We'll keep you guys posted on that one.
Do you love it when a plan comes together? Uh-huh.
That's your 18 reference?
18 reference. I just need the cigar. Good morning.
She's wonderful with the kids, folks. She's wonderful with the
Hey, you can
kids.
tell the energy levels are back up when I'm making my bad puns and jokes. Boom, boom.
We're losing her. We're losing her.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, the little bit of hair sticking out. So you couldn't MacGyver my hair this morning.
You need a haircut. You need a trim. You can keep the length, but you do need a little bit of a trim and reshaping. Go to a barber.
Again, she's great with the kids. Very bossy. Full of puns as well. But yeah, there's a tour planned out. It's going to be starting on the 2nd. We're trying White Court on the 2nd. But stay tuned, folks. And all this can change. Some of it's booked already. We're booked the 3rd in Grand Prairie. We're booking the 4th in Hinton. The 5th is booked in Breton.
Yeah.
And the 6th is being booked in Devon.
Devon, yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be Dr. Roger Hodgkinson, myself, and one more. We're going to confirm later this week, full slate. And all we're doing is independence talk. So I'm kind of setting us up for some of the posts coming up because it's starting to get ugly again out there again. And then going over to Ontario. So on the 6th will be the last one here. 7th I'll fly out to Ontario. 8th will be the first show in Ontario because we're screening the Dan Hartman movie, the Sean Hartman movie. And go ahead and share that with you guys. We have a trailer. Let me get that trailer set up because I can share the trailer with you, but we're not ready for big reveal. That'll probably be tomorrow where you can start getting tickets and all that kind of stuff. But let me just share the trailer with you. We worked hard, like months on this.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Cincinnati, where medical personnel have been working on Bill Safety Damar Hamlin for the last 9 minutes. Hamlin made a hit, got up, took a couple of steps, and then just fell to the ground.
In 2021, with the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccines, we witnessed cardiac arrests in athletes like we've never seen before.
The evidence is getting stronger all the time, to the point, in my opinion, where it's difficult to argue that the vaccine has not had terrible consequences.
Multiple research reports show that heart inflammation risks tied to the vaccines may be far greater and maybe even more dangerous than previously reported, particularly among young men.
Unfortunately, my only son had to have a shot to play hockey. He was forced into it, coerced into it, told it was safe and effective. After my son Sean took his first Pfizer shot, he was found dead on the floor beside his bed on the morning of September 27, 2021.
There's tens of thousands of other children that have been severely harmed by this COVID-19 gene therapy.
And so we launched a lawsuit against Pfizer for wrongful death. We also launched a lawsuit against the government of Canada for fraud and deceit.
I miss my boy, and I want him back, and I know he's never coming back. And the combination of rage and sadness is powerful. People, please join me in the fight and help me beat them. For Sean and for everybody.
There we are, folks. Yeah, so that's the trailer. You probably recognize a lot of voices in there. We got Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Roger Hodgkinson, Dr. James Thorpe, and others. There's Chris Shoemaker, Theo Fleury, and some other parents who lost their children who sharing the stories as well. So, yeah, lots of work, and we're about ready. We're ready to get this out there. So February 8th will be Barrie, 9th will be Ottawa, 10th will be Peterborough, 11th will be Toronto, and 12th will be Mississauga. So that's the current tour plan after chatting with Dan, and he's going to make it to all, but I think Ottawa. Ottawa may be the one he can't make it to, but Dan himself will be at absolutely on the 8th. It's the premiere up in Barrie. So stay tuned. I think we'll release everything tomorrow, so you can start getting yourself tickets to that. Remember, proceeds go to support Dan's legal fight. This is a fundraising event to help support that Pfizer lawsuit he's working on.
Yep. Yeah, we support Dan Hartman. We support him in the loss of his son, and for the other many voices out there that we don't hear about because who've gone through the same thing. They're all similar.
Well, there's 2 more voices in there that you'll hear from, who also lost their loved one. But I'm very honored and pleased to have be working with Dean Rainey, who did the Why Can't We Talk About This documentary last year. That's how I learned about him. And of course, Dan invited us into his home when we were out there to record. And it's been a passion project for sure. Worked on it like yesterday. Excuse me. And we'll get more to you tomorrow and possibly Friday. We may have some special guests on to talk about it.
Yep, look forward to it.
All right, let's get into the news. Dan is the big news, but let's get into the news because a very powerful trailer. Thank you very much for that. We'll be posting the trailer online shortly, so stay tuned for that, along with some more details on where you can support Sean and get yourself some tickets. 5 locations. Okay, so Bruce Party yesterday, some more cold water from him, especially when it came to the Federal Court of Appeals upholding the Mosley decision, talking about, well, what does it really mean? Does it mean anything? Is everybody going to be arrested? And the answer is no. It's a judicial review. It just means they review the actions. It's not a criminal decision, and there's no criminal charges that come from it. I know a lot of people are pretty frustrated with that. But I guess history repeats itself because the War Measures Act by Trudeau Sr. was misused. They determined it to be misused. It was improper. Nothing happened. And now what did happen, though, was they changed it into the Emergencies Act to try and make sure it wasn't misused. Jr. misused it. And maybe the only thing that comes out of this is they revisit it again. But what's really the point? It's not stopping them. It's not putting in the safeguards. So, maybe Alberta can do its own thing.
Yeah.
Not be part of that broken system that has things like that in there where the government is supposed to follow laws and they don't. Simply don't.
It would be nice.
So thank you, Bruce, for jumping on again. He's a trooper because he just finished flying back. He's still on Alberta time and he came up and
get a bit of the croaky voice from speaking all week.
And for the people that are asking about the Buck Creek video, because it's kind of choppy on YouTube. First of all, over 6,000 of you watched it.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. But yeah, I have done another version where we zoom in on the speaker and the audio's better, and I've uploaded it. So it's going to be today at 5 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Eastern, and that will be the replay. So the unbroken full version, because we did have it. We just internet connections in the middle of nowhere can be intermittent. All right, so Elections Alberta, maybe they heard from you guys because a lot of people are wondering, where's my badge? Where's my cancer badge? I haven't gotten it yet. So Elections Alberta put out this little infographic. The question is, how long does it take to get my cancer badge after I sign up with the petition organizer? Because remember, the only way to get these is through Mitch. Mitch is the petitioner. So he has to actually approve all the applications before they go to Elections Alberta. Hundreds. My badge number is in the 700, which means well over 700 people before me got theirs. I met badge number 1.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, met badge number 1. I was like, oh, look at that. So that person was on the ball, first one to get one. We're in the thousands now of applications going through. So Elections Alberta said here, you submit your application to the organizer. That will be Stay Free Alberta. It'll end up on, and you can go there right now, stayfreealberta.com, and click Become a Canvasser and just fill out the application. There you go. You got a button for that now. Then they're responsible for submitting it to us. There we go. That's a process. Once received, add 2 to 3 days for us to process, then add 1 to 3 days for express post. So I posted here the whole process from the time I went to the website to apply. So looking for your Stay Free Alberta cancer badge. Here's some good info from Elections Alberta. Mine was in my hands about 10 days after I started the process. So there's some time. First, you're going to get a phone call because they vet everybody.
Okay.
The leftists was very clear that they're going to try to become canvassers to spoil petitions, and they're going to vet everybody, and they're dealing with hundreds of applications, a total of thousands now. Process. I know the people in the back are working really, really hard to get through them. So you'll get a phone call first. One of the questions when you submit to be a canvasser is when can we contact you? Where? Like what time? That kind of stuff. So do that. You'll need to get some training. They're holding these sessions all over the place. I went to one in Drayton Valley. Need some training. You're going to be signing NDA, and you'll have to e-sign something. You'll receive that in your email box. So if you've gone through some of this process and you haven't got that e-sign document, go check your junk folder.
Yeah.
It might be sitting there waiting for you. Once that is done, I believe it's either submitted or has been submitted by that point to Elections Alberta. And then, as they say here, it could take up to 6 days on their end, 3 to 6 days on their end to get it out the door. And sure enough, mine showed up on Friday.
Excellent.
It was cool. So good news, the BMO event has grown. So it's now been moved just across like the parking lot, not far from BMO Center. So it's still in Calgary, just across from the BMO, but it's a larger venue. So it's called the Big Four. It will still be on Monday, January 26th. When I saw this, I confirmed with the powers that be that made sure that this is happening there, because I would hate for like someone to just put something out there just to
exactly.
misdirect everybody. So this is it. They are moving from BMO to the Big Four, and I'd love to see you all there. I'm going to be there. I'm not sure about your situation, but I know I'll be there.
It's all weather permitting, quite frankly.
Frankly, yeah. And if we can turn around and get back right after too. We got animals, things to take care of. But I'll be there for sure. I'll be at the media table. And if you want to signing opens up at 11. And at 7 p.m. there'll be speakers. And I suspect it'll go to about 10. It's going to be a great event. So come check it out.
Cool.
And it's free too. There's no tickets needed for that. Share with your family, friends, and neighbors. Yeah, I believe it's a free event. Just come, especially signing.
Yeah.
That's for darn sure. All right. Thank you to Rachel Parker. We dug up the Steve Bannon video where this gentleman here on the right is talking about us, the APP delegation down to the State Department, at least 2 meetings. And what he's highlighting in this clip is that Trump is kind of hyperbolic about the 51st state stuff. And the goal is independence, to recognize the independence of Alberta. He does go on to say, once that is done, the path to 51st state is there. If this is something that the people of Alberta want, then, well, of course, that's what people of Alberta can do. It would be a 2-step process. It would be get your independence and then vote to join U.S. I don't see the support for that. I don't see the support for the 51st state. There are some people that want it and like it, but I don't see it as the majority support at all.
Yeah, and that's been a bit of fear-mongering as well from people who are opposed to the separation, a bit of those at TDS, the Trump derangement syndrome, like, oh, you're only doing this so Trump could now take Alberta. Whoa, no, no, we're not doing that at all. Priorities is separation from Canada. That is the goal.
Yeah, stand on our own 2 feet. We can. We'd be one of the largest countries out there, one of the most resource-rich countries out there. Our GDP will hit a 90. Sorry, you've got some cough here. 97th percentile or so. We would do fantastic on our own. It would be a great template, as Bruce said on his speech, for Western civilization to follow. So no, we got lots of responsibilities. We don't need to be joining the 51st as the 51st state. But this is confirmation. So confirmation coming out of the U.S. of somebody in the know that the meetings have happened, and it's about independence, recognizing the independence of Alberta. Sorry. Oh, you guys know that feeling. Yeah, try to do it when you're hosting a show too.
Yeah.
Keith Wilson, you're awesome. Thanks very much. You're sharing some of Marty's stuff. But guess what Pierre Poilievre has announced?
Yeah, I know. Go ahead and share.
Yeah, he's not going to be running in Battle River Crowfoot. It's going to go back to the original MP, Gurrick, I think it is. And I wonder if he knows or suspects that there may not be a spot for him in Alberta in the very near future.
Well, that would be a given, I think, but also I think he's about to be slinked out of politics.
Could be, because this is a really weak thing to do. Like, maybe announce this in February after you get through the leadership review.
Yeah.
But announcing that he's not going to stick around here.
Alberta's not good enough for you? What's going on?
Well, it's kind of weird. Here's what I'm annoyed about, and Albertans are probably annoyed about it too, especially if you live in Battle River Crowfoot. He came here and did a by-election and caused a lot of kerfuffle and made everybody run and come and pick up a really strong conservative seat, only to just leave.
Yeah,
like, where is he going next, and why didn't he just go there for the by-election? But I'm reading the tea leaves here. He may not see that seat being there for much longer. Quite possibly he's getting some of the numbers internally that maybe this is a lot stronger than a lot of people want to admit, the independence of Alberta.
And especially if he is not pro-separation, then why would
But
he
he can't be. The federal, every single MP is a federalist.
But it would be, he may be realizing no one's going to re-elect him or vote for him.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's very difficult to find, is an MP willing to say, yeah, you guys should do this. MLAs, there's a bunch.
Yeah.
But MPs, because they all lose their seat. We don't need federal representation in Ottawa when we have our own nation. So I wonder what this means, and I'm surprised this was announced right before his leadership review. So I wonder if he knows more than we do. All right, so Corey's posting here. While petitioning events for a referendum in Alberta continue to be swamped, let's not forget that Saskatchewan independence movement is packed halls right now. It's packing halls right now too. Absolutely. So good news is we have, I'll read it here. Join Brad Williams, leader of Saskatchewan Prosperity Project, on the Levine Show Wednesday, January 21st, as we talk about the growing independence movement in Saskatchewan. So I spoke to Brad on the phone for a long time. Good guy. He's working really hard. He's trying to catch up to what Mitch has been doing. Mitch has been at it for several years. But Saskatchewan, the more Alberta shows the lines lining up, people are excited. The events are happening. Rooms are full. So is Saskatchewan. They're right there too. No, we're not doing it at the same time. That's not how this process works. The Clarity Act, independently. You can technically do it at the same time, but not together.
Yeah.
So, and what I learned is Saskatchewan is the only province that does not have a referendum act to allow this to happen, which I think is a violation of the Supreme Court and the Clarity Act, because both of those provide a province with the mechanism to go ahead and have a referendum for independence, but Alberta or Saskatchewan doesn't have the
Do they have some sort of alternative?
Nope.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Interesting.
No. So right now, the Saskatchewan government, Scott Moe, needs to pass a bill that provides like a Citizens Initiative Act or Referendum Act, the same type of thing. So they go ahead and get that.
To get the structure in place so that they have the ability to.
Well, maybe after the New World Order comment that he witnessed, that might be the first thing he starts working on. Like, hey, people need to be able to decide. But anyways, we'll be talking about that, and they have a lot of support growing there, but they need a path forward to get it done. And maybe Alberta finishing the job would be a way to prove how to get it done, so they can just follow that process. All right, so Chief Justice Wagner is going to put his foot into it again. He's calling the U.S. dictatorship a dictatorship. He's taking a political position. It's very woke left. The same thing he did with the convoy. He went public and called it an illegal occupation. And this is the guy where the federal court appeal may be appealed to by the government because he's the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. They should not be making public comments like this and taking positions, showing us their stripes. It should be not transparent, but it should absolutely be
unbiased and
nonpartisan when it comes to the process. So this complicates things, as Donald's pointing out, because what we need is, if the federal court of appeal decision goes to the Supreme Court, he can't weigh in on it because he's already taken a position which is counter to the court's decision, the lower court and the appeals court decision. So I think it was Bruce I was speaking to, where he said he'd have to recuse himself, but then I pointed out that leaves 8, which means you can't break a tie. And Bruce highlighted that it likely would go down to 7 justices to hear the case so that you can break the tie. But we'll see. We'll see where this ends up, because if this does end up in his pile, we already know what his decision is, and that's before hearing any arguments. So we'll take this one step at a time. But him making public comments like this is just bad behavior. Not behavior, but it's a bad procedure.
Yep.
The Supreme Court needs to stay nonpartisan, but this one isn't. Maybe it's time for him to step down.
Yep.
Maybe it's time for someone else to be in that position of Chief Justice. All right. Free Alberta, thanks so much for posting. Top 5 lies about Alberta independence debunked. First one here is First Nations have a veto. Oh, they most certainly do not. The truth, they have no rights, no unilateral control over provincial sovereignty. Correct. It's all ceded land in Alberta. These are long-standing treaties signed away a long time ago. And as Leighton Gray pointed out in the Fundamental Truth, 1% of the population can't control everybody. So there'll likely be some challenges on this, and we'll see where this goes. There's already one in the court, but it can't stop a legal process that's happening right now. So they can have their complaints, but it won't stop. Another myth is Alberta is landlocked, so it can't trade. The landlocked part isn't the myth, but the so it can't trade part is. The truth, 44 landlocked countries trade globally, Switzerland, Mongolia, and many others, 42 others. Being landlocked is not a barrier to trade. There's a lot of recognized international agreements in place that help make sure that that's not the case. A nation has the ability to prosper and trade, and it's not an issue. In fact, Bruce pointed out we are more landlocked now. As Ottawa also landlocks us, than we would be under our own sovereign nation.
Yep.
And I'm sure that if we were free to negotiate with our neighbors, including in BC, things could go in a different direction if Ottawa can't get in the way. But we certainly can do a lot of trading south and then west. And there's also the ability to negotiate with BC and the rest of Canada when trade is happening from the ports of Vancouver all the way to the east of Canada.
Yeah, where they want to head east.
Yep. So I'm pretty sure the adults will be at the table and we can get things done. The next one is the oil belongs to Canada. Completely untrue. Read the Constitution. The truth, Alberta owns 81% of the natural resources under the Constitution. Natural resources are provincial. It's always been that way. They just scream that. It's Canada's oil. So what are you going to do?
Yes.
Take it? That's not the way that works. Next myth, Crown land can't be taken. Actually, the truth is it's Alberta's Crown land owned by the province, with the exception of national parks at this stage, which would become Alberta National Parks. No, Crown land is provincial as well. So that would be redistributed to the people in some sort of fashion. Many people have ideas on how that can be done. But no, it's not like we can become slaves to Canada or the Crown. There is a process recognized by Canada to get this done.
Yeah, people just don't even realize that. They're saying like, "Oh, you're just doing it. You're fighting." No, there's this paperwork in place. There's rules. There's
Canada's one of the
procedures.
countries where this can happen. Some countries you can't, but Canada's one of the
They may not make it easy. They may fight every step of the way, but it's there. Paperwork is there.
Anything else worth having, it's going to take some time and effort. And then the last one here is there's no support. Growing support with polls showing an increasing majority.
Yes.
I have seen it grow ever since April. Excuse me. Sorry, folks. You heard that one. I tried to hit the mute. Bad me. But no, there's support growing. Just go to an event. You'll see it. And we got our guest here, so we're going to go ahead and drop it there. We had Dallas on the show not too long ago, and this was when One BC was in full swing, and then that weekend is when things changed.
Yes.
And now she's back. So we'll go. She got a nice smile there. So let's go ahead and bring Dallas in here.
Good morning.
Early for you. How are you?
Good morning.
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I like that smile that you had there. Like, you know what's coming. It's like, hey, when last time we were on here, everything was hunky and or dory. And then that weekend happened and then things changed. So how have you been since you were last on?
Pardon me? Sorry, say that again.
How have you been since you were last on?
I've been great. I mean, that was a massive disruption in December, what happened with 1BC, but I can't change what happened. I'm still putting together the pieces of why that occurred, and I think there's a story to be told there that will come out over time. But at this point, all I can say is that I managed my way through that, retained control of the party, which was very important to me, and now we've got most of the same team is still with me, but we are just we've stabilized, and we're not just stabilized. Our membership is growing again. We lost membership when people heard I'd been kicked out. People were writing letters saying, give me my money back. If Brodie's not there, I'm out of here too. And then those people left, and then they came back. So, I'm learning that in politics, Jason and Paula, this is part of it. You don't know what other people's agendas are, and things change very quickly in politics. I've really never seen anything like this, but I'm learning to just be nimble and move with the as times switch. I mean, and I'm just happy that we're together and we're moving forward now at this point. And yes, it was sad, but what can I say?
Well, you said it all there, and
Yeah.
right when it happened, you were very strong and said, "No, we're going to get this fixed. I'm going to challenge this. I'm going to fight this. I want to fight for what we were doing here with 1BC." And then you kept going. How did you end up regaining control? Like, how did you get that back? Did they offer it?
Well,
How did that work?
actually, in the context, there was it was 10 days of sort of hell. And I just, ultimately, the people who were doing this made an offer to me, and I saw the offer. I don't know if that was their misstep or what they had done there, but they made an offer, and I'm a lawyer, and I saw offers, so I made acceptance. And then afterwards, there was an effort to put conditions on that offer. I said, oh no, there were no conditions precedent, no conditions subsequent, and you can't now go back and change the deal. This is it. You said either I take the party and go, or they take the party and go. And I said, I take the party and go. And I also said that if we don't honor this agreement, I'm going to put this whole thread out there and let people read it. And I'm also we will call immediately a special general meeting of the members, and then we can let them decide about this. So that was the next step. And so, it was a fight, and I don't like, I found that very unpleasant, actually, because these were former very good friends of mine. And so, but you know what? I had to fight. There were times I sort of thought, why am I bothering? What's the point? This is insane. But then the letters that were rolling in from members were really amazing. And they were like, please don't quit, don't stop. And, some of my team started reading this to me, that we can't just stop. It's not like you can just make up your mind all by yourself just to quit. I now felt I did have a responsibility to these people, and I felt that it was very important that I keep going. I had really built something here with that team, and now so that's what happened. I accepted their offer, and I won, and I got it back. And it was a fight, but here we are. And I'm hoping that over the long run that maybe I'll even regain an MLA or two back to the party. And in the meantime, you guys, I think my voice is necessary in that legislature, even if I'm just one person and one party. But we are polling at close to 10% with one MLA and this little party. We have a strong following, and
Fantastic.
so that's very important.
Excellent. No, I'm very pleased to hear that this kind of thing worked out. I know in corporate type of worlds, there's a thing called like a shotgun clause. Like when there's a breakup and then one side kind of offers, but they'll be forced to take it, et cetera, et cetera. Was it along those lines?
Well, the shotgun, it wasn't a predetermined shotgun that had been put into a previous sort of like in corporate speak, you'd put that into a shareholders agreement where there's a shotgun or a right of first refusal embedded into the shareholders agreement. This was more of in the context of what was going on, things were moving really quickly. The other people changed the constitution on me without telling me. I mean, it was just crazy. I've actually never seen anything like this, and it broadsided me. But then in the context of that, an offer was made. And I don't know exactly, I guess they thought I might just say, okay, I'm out. You take it and go. So I saw an opportunity, I took it. And it was an email that came through at one point, and it came in on a Saturday afternoon. And they said you have to respond by 5 p.m. Monday. I did. And then I said, you have till this time to respond again. And that's when they started going, uh-oh, we didn't see this coming. And that's when I said, listen, you can't impose conditions after the fact. We have offer, we have acceptance. That's it. That's basic contract law 101, right?
Yep.
And so that was it. And I think that the right thing happened in the end. So yeah, lessons learned, and good thing I had my law degree.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt, for sure. That
And
helped you a
practice
lot.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they underestimated you. They may have thought, and I'm just going to put this out there, this is speculation, this isn't fact, but they may have thought that after being booted, you may have just whimpered away and not come fighting for it. I think they underestimated you on this one.
I think I was underestimated, but you know what, Jason and Paula? It's sometimes a good thing to be underestimated.
Mhm.
You know,
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
and just because I'm friendly and you know, I'm a good-natured person doesn't mean I'm weak. And so it's, you know, don't ever assume that just because someone's being nice and tends to be cooperative and agreeable that they're weak. It's not. The two things are very different.
100%. I got my paralegal license in Ontario. There, it's a regulated profession, one of the only jurisdictions that do it. That means I went through school, write the exam, 8-hour exam, and get a license and have to keep it up. So I've met many lawyers. The most efficient ones are the ones that are nice, because you drop your guard and then you get in there and then boom, they get you. It's the ones that are very vocal and angry that are kind of easier to deal with, because you know what you get. But the ones that are nice and intelligent, they are very good for their clients. Let's just put it that way.
Yes, they are. And, you know, truthfully, when I was a lawyer, I wasn't sort of a go for the jugular kind of lawyer. I did both courtroom work and like I practiced corporate and real estate and securities law for my first 6-7 years. And then after that, I did criminal defense work for young offenders with my own legal aid practice for 7 years. And so I've been in both arenas. And, you know, there were definitely people who were much more go for the blood type of lawyers. That wasn't my style. I would much rather reach agreement. Even in courtroom, I always thought I could get a better deal for my client if I didn't take an obvious case to trial, because you just frustrate the judge and everybody. If it was just, you know, you're caught red-handed with the weapon in your sometimes it was better, particularly dealing with young offenders, that just try and guide them through the process. So, but in this case, I had to fight hard, and I did have people supporting me. So it was helpful to have people behind me, because in the depths of all that, I was feeling super sad, very betrayed, deeply wounded. This came out of the blue, but I'm looking back over the months prior to about a month and a bit prior to that, and I'm starting to see things were shifting, and I'm not sure what the other side, their little plan was, but I think that there was I think sort of someone had made up their mind about where they were going and what they were doing. So.
And our kids probably just loved that little thing, because you said 6-7 years ago. So 6-7.
Oh yeah, 6-7. You say that anyway now, and all the kids start laughing. It's so cute.
Yeah. I know my little one. He's gonna hear that. He's like 6-7. So 6-7 years you were at it. Yeah, you can't hear that any other way now.
Yeah.
So what is the next step for you now? You mentioned possibly some more MLAs, because this actually impacted the power 1BC has in the legislature. Like, you were able to bring forward daily a motion or had some statements or something, but can you kind of take us through that?
Yes, well, once you're a party, you get official status. Like, I'm still a political party, but I don't have official status in the legislature. You have to have 2 MLAs in order to have that, which, by the way, was a deal cut with the Green Party with the NDP years ago, because they only had 2 seats. And they're probably ruining that decision at this point, because it used to be you had to have 4 MLAs to have official party status in British Columbia. So now I'm down to 1, which means I won't get a question every day in question period, but I will still get 1 question every 3 weeks. But in the meantime, I will be able to take advantage of speeches I can make on bills that are coming forward, and I will focus more on that now. And I can still introduce bills, and I can still bring people into the legislature to introduce them and make my point that way, because there are a lot of people still looking to me to raise some of the hotter potato issues in the province, and I will continue to do that. And there are many ways to get that done. And so I will be exercising every way I can do that. Also, there are now 5 independents in that legislature, and I'm sure my former colleague Tara will often vote with me on things, or and Jordan Keeley, Eleanor Sturko, and Amelia Bolby, who knows about how they would vote on certain things. But there will be still chance for alignments. And there's one thing you learn in politics: your friend one day is it just goes back and forth all the time. So you learn not to hold grudges or take a stand with anyone. Just be open, keep your edges soft, and work with people. And that's how you get things done. And I will continue to do that. And I'm looking forward to going back into the legislature, actually. So we don't go back until mid-February. So right now I'm busy working on my next projects. We've tackled very deeply the reconciliation industry in BC, and now another one. I'll continue on that, but I also want to start really looking into what I call the addictions industry in British Columbia. And
now you call it you call it the reconciliation industry, which means you think there's like a for-profit thing going on here, like there's something going on.
Well, what we mean by that is that it's really in reconciliation is supposed to be something that is for the betterment of relationships between Indigenous, non-Indigenous people, or Native, non-Native, and also to sort of atone for things that went wrong in the past. And a lot of people believe that the taxpayer money that's going towards this file really should be going to the betterment of the average Native people living on reserve and improving quality of life, or because they do seem to suffer more problems than other groups, not all other groups, but they have challenges that are really afflicting them. And so, but what's happening is this gigantic amount of money, particularly the money that's been, disgorged from all levels of government since the Kamloops announcement in 2021, 4.5 years ago. The amount of money, it's ticked up, like it's been a almost straight up line of the billions that have gone out over the last 4.5 years in the name of that supposed discovery. So where's the money going? Well, it's going to, and it has always been going to, a lot of lawyers, consultants, developers, and chief and counsel. And on the side of that, there's also the accounting firms that do a lot of work. I mean, there is a lot of corporate work going on, litigation work by lawyers, accountants. It's big business. And there are some firms that are established solely on doing Aboriginal law. When I was a young lawyer got called to the bar in '88, there was no Aboriginal law group in the big law firms. Now it can be 20, 25 lawyers in that group. You'd have sort of the real estate group, the securities group, maybe a couple of securities groups that sort of function together as pods, and then, basic corporate commercial group. And, there might be one person who specialized in this. I'm thinking of my very first firm, Ladner Downs. There were a couple of people who specialized, but they were usually acting for, the firm I was at, they were acting for the government side. But now it's a whole department. And so there's big money on this. And so it's not getting down to the people. You go through a reserve and you can see still situation is not good. And so that's what we call the reconciliation industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bruce Party mentioned this on the little tour that we were doing with him. He said there's really only 2 groups that benefit from this. There's the Indigenous elite, and then there's the institutions that support it. But the people themselves absolutely do not. And that includes both sides, all people don't benefit from this. One of the things he highlights is the Indian Act is very racist, and it's causing a lot more oppression than anything else to happen to First Nations people. So you're seeing this in action, is what you're saying there.
Yes, I'm seeing it in action. And, as we know, our history tells us that even Trudeau Sr. and Jean Chrétien back in 1969 introduced the white paper, which said we cannot continue forward with two types of citizenship in Canada, and they were projecting precisely what we're seeing happen now. I think in that document they called it Citizens and Citizens Plus, and so my understanding is it's the AFN, the Assembly of First Nations, which is the group that represents the 635 or 600 plus bands in Canada, said no, we want to keep the Indian Act. We like this arrangement, and we reject that. And so they were forced to drop that paper, but that was a very unwise decision, because now we're in this mess where now getting a status card is something that everybody wants to get. They're trying to prove they have a drop of Native blood. They want to get, so they can get all the goodies that go along with that status. Tax-free status, you know, if you have that card, you can take delivery of a car and not pay the sales tax. That can be like $7,000, you know, this adds up, and you don't have to pay income. You know, there are lots of things benefits that go along with that.
Now, another proponent for it to fix things was Mark Carney's father.
Yes.
Mark Carney's father came out and said, look, you know, this relationship is not good. We got to fix things. The right way to do this is everybody should be self-determined. They should be able to have their own future, take care of themselves. But Mark Carney denounced his own father on that position. And that's kind of ironic because his dad was right on that one.
Yes, his dad was right on that. His dad was also heavily involved in managing the residential schools, was a big proponent of them. And to disavow what his dad said is, that's shocking. His dad was right. And if they had followed some of this sage advice back then, we really would be in a better situation. And so would the vast majority of Native people, frankly. I do get phone calls, and I've been meeting with Indigenous people who reach out to me to say, I need to tell you what's going on in my reserve. And the calls, it's nonstop, and we're working on that. And it's, yeah, they are unhappy, and it always seems to relate to the lack of accountability that they're getting from the chief and council and nepotism. And so one family will keep all the seats of chief and council through the years, and it's very defeating for the other people because they know they can never make a change to that. And imagine how you'd feel if you just knew that the government you have is like, well, I mean, I'm not very happy having a federal Liberal government, but I know there's hope that perhaps if we have a proper, a fair election, which is another thing we could talk about, we could have a change. But if you're stuck, it's basically a communist system that they have there, because you can't even own your own property, as most people know. You can't get a fee simple title to your property on a reserve. So you can't get a mortgage. You can't operate, renovate it yourself, manage yourself, do things that normal people can do. But to leave the reserve is also a gamble for them because they get benefits from being there. So it's really a catch-22, right? And very unfair, really, to consign all these people to living that way and saying that's okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you caught it yet. It might be worth checking out, but Leighton Gray was on our stage in Red Deer, and he opened his 20-minute speech with, I am Indian number, and then he read out his Indian number. And then he followed that up with, because that is how I am seen. I'm just a number by this federal government. And in his closing part of his speech was, if it wasn't for residential schools for his grandmother and great-grandfather, I guess it would be, he wouldn't be a lawyer today. So he highlighted that did help his family. Residential schools was a place to go ahead and prosper. And because of that, he is now a lawyer who fights really hard and takes on the government and wins. So those are really good stories to hear, because that's not what CBC is talking about anymore. They don't talk about stuff like that at all. It's just genocide in their books.
I know it's gone on, and there needs to be balance on this. It's gone so far, and the CBC, there's a reckoning that's needed. First of all, about what happened at Kamloops and this mess. And I guess you've heard about the latest. We've had some good decisions, though. A good decision this week from the Federal Privacy Commissioner about the Kamloops situation. Have you heard about that?
I heard, no, I haven't heard the decision this week. Last I heard is they were going to bury the information, but where are we at now?
They did seal the records, but there was an appeal. There's a reporting group called Blacklock's Reporter that I've only recently learned about. And I believe they're a nonpartisan group that does a lot of freedom of information requests and a lot of really deep dives into journalism. And they had filed a freedom of information request over a year ago for information relating to the digging that was supposed to have been done at Kamloops. And see, the money was advanced, 12.1 million, that was earmarked for digging. And as part of that, there were supposed to be progress reports filed with the federal government about how the excavations and so on were proceeding. And other things, reporting back, which is good to hear. At least there was some reporting required. And the federal government had not given the privacy or freedom of information people had not released any of the documents yet, and it had been over a year. And so the federal privacy commissioner just, said, this is completely unacceptable. Her decision came out on I think it was late last week, or middle of last week. Today's Tuesday, yeah. And it was very exciting because they won. And she said, you have to release that information within 30 days. This is an outrageous delay. And there's absolutely no reason for this, and it's unacceptable. So hooray, transparency in Canada. And maybe it won't be filled with redactions. Let's hope. Because it's really important that we get to the truth of what happened there, because it's not good to have policy based on untrue information. We need truth, because that will develop solid policy. To build something on a lie is built on sand, and it's going to crumble eventually, which is what's happening.
Yeah, and when I was running federal as an MP, we were at a high school here in Alberta in Spruce Grove, and the students had a bunch of questions for all the candidates. The Conservative candidate wasn't there, but the rest of us were there. And the way they framed this particular question around truth and reconciliation was telling. They basically said, we know that we need to do truth and reconciliation. There was a recommendation, I think 94 different recommendations, and only a handful of them have been implemented. If you won the election, what would your party do to implement them? So you see how they framed it, like this is a truth already. So my response was, well, I would start with the word truth, because I don't think we're finished with that stage yet. We have to figure out what happened here. And if it really is as bad as some people are saying it is, well, then we can go ahead and start to heal. But if it isn't what they say it is, then we can start the healing process as well. Yeah. We can't do that if we've built this on mistruth, misinformation, or misunderstanding. Like, we need to finish that truth word before we can get to a reconciliation. The event ended right after that. They didn't want to hear any more from us.
Wow.
I think that was telling as well.
Wow.
But, and that started with a land acknowledgement, that event as well, where a young lady apologized profusely and was very thankful that her future will be allowed to happen on Native land. So yeah, you can see where the high schools were at, even here in Alberta.
Well, I introduced a bill, or 1BC introduced a bill in the spring, in the fall session. It was a bill, a prohibition of land acknowledgements, getting rid of these land acknowledgements at publicly funded institutions. This is outrageous forced speech, and it's wrong. And now we're actually making land acknowledgements ahead of our national anthem at hockey games, apparently. I don't go to hockey games, but this is outrageous. We are a country. We are an amazing country. We should be singing our national anthem. We are a group, Indigenous, non-Indigenous, we are all here together. And this is not the way forward. And I say to people, if you can do one thing, and that's all you can do to push back against this machine, is go to work tomorrow or today and remove the land acknowledgement from the bottom of your signature on your email page. If it's there, just take it out. It's not law. You don't have to have that there. And remove those pronouns too, if they've been slipped into your, if you want to, remove them from your signature page. It's just a quiet way of starting to say, I don't want to do this anymore. And I've seen these, the first time I heard a land acknowledgement, I was like, uh-oh, we are being groomed into acquiescence to this. It was so obvious what was going on. You keep saying something over and over again. people begin to think you mean it. And you start to
Believe it.
believe it. And now we're training children to believe they live on stolen land. This is terrible for children.
Yep.
Well, it's terrible for grown-ups. It's awful for all of us. And it's not improving the lot of Native people. This isn't helping their lives. So what are we doing here? Are we really going with UNDRIP, this UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which was developed at the United Nations and then brought into Canada and blanketed over top of our country? And that document has three major things it says. The first thing it says, all land back, not some land, all land, all land. The second big thing is it says veto over all land, all of the land, veto. And then the final one was indefinite funding of everything we need to exercise those vetoes and et cetera over that land. So those are big, big things. And the land back movement is what this is all about. And I don't think people realized what was really in UNDRIP. I highly recommend go and read it. It's only about 35 pages and it's in big writing and you can read it fairly quickly. And it's a document that gives all these entitlements and rights, but there's zero expression of any responsibility in return for that. So it's all a one-way street. And I know that people who would advocate for this would say, oh, well, this is correcting the historical mistake of colonialism. Well, I say, no way. We're not going back. We can't go back. What does that mean to, because the underbelly to reconciliation, the dual underbellies are decolonization and indigenization. And so that's what's really going on. So we're seeing signs changed in Vancouver. I know there's a movement afoot to eventually British Columbia will be called something else. We're seeing schools' names change. So that's called indigenization and decolonization. And so, but if that's the case, then decolonization would have to go deeper than that. That would mean, okay, what are we doing? Removing transmission lines? Are we going to take down dams? I mean, how far does this go? Are we going to stop having plumbing?
Yeah,
all like, you know, and this is, but it's an ideological movement that's rooted in, you know, frankly, cultural Marxism, and that's where they're headed. And we have massive organizations working out of the United States, the Tides Foundation, which now calls itself makeway.org. Up here, they're trying to shut down Alberta. They have been for a long time, and they're trying to landlock Alberta by creating these groups out here that are blocking the pipeline. I mean, you've heard, I'm sure you're aware of all this stuff, so I won't bore you with it. But, you know, we have to stand up and say, no, that's not a good way to go forward. We need to all work together and build an incredible country together, not trying to take this away from that group and this away from this group. The Section 35 of the Constitution of Canada needs to be amended. It's got to stop. The courts are out of control on this issue. They've made a mess of things, and feckless and frankly cowardly politicians have allowed this to go on for 20, 30 years because nobody wanted to be called a racist, right? Everybody thought, I'll just do this and that'll be the end of it. I think Stephen Harper thought he had ended things, but it doesn't end. There's no end to the apologies demanded and the extractions being made from the public purse. It just seems to get bigger and every year. And so I think there has to be an end. Well, I know there needs to be an end to this because pretty soon we won't be able to even afford that file.
Now,
Right?
Alberta's making its own path forward, as you're obviously aware. And some of the things you highlighted there, like blocking the pipelines and making things difficult, and Alberta can't get to the West Coast for the oil. These are all actually pros if you're looking at a new future for Alberta, because when Canada or BC or special interest groups, Tides Foundation have just changed their name, are harming the prosperity of Albertans, it's kind of one more reason why we should be looking at a different path forward. So you mentioned there, like, work together. You know, Alberta's been trying to do that for a long time, and
I
the
know.
grassroots efforts to go ahead and start a new future may lead to similar things happening out west as well. There's 30% support in BC mostly outside of Vancouver and
Oh, yes.
the Lower Mainland. But there's a lot of support in BC to start looking at the ceded land and maybe separate and maybe join a new Alberta and stuff like that. What are your thoughts about first Alberta taking these kind of steps forward? Because it's not going to unify the rest of the country. It may be the domino that separates Saskatchewan, Quebec, and possibly some of BC as well.
I think anybody who's grown up in the West knows that this confederation has never really worked very well for the Western Canada. I mean, I'm a fifth generation Vancouverite. I can remember my grandparents complaining about things too back in the 60s when I was just a little girl listening to grown-ups talking about things. The arrangement has never worked for Western Canada because we just don't have the seats, and there's a guaranteed block of seats back in Quebec and Ontario that is cast in stone. Even if their population changes, they'll never lose the number of seats they have. So all the decisions, the elections are decided before we even go to the polls half the time. Super defeating, very depressing to be out here. And I think that's why the reform movement was so popular. And it was very exciting to think Western Canada was finding its voice. But here we are again, and I understand why Albertans are fed up. My father was in the oil and gas industry in Vancouver. He built a gas station chain. He went to and graduated from Harvard Business School in 1958 and came home and started a gas station and bought some land in his first station. It was called Merit Oil. And he built it from scratch. And he ended up having 56 stations in British Columbia. He was the largest independent retail gas station owner. And what happened to him was getting squeezed by the majors, and they started, because he was underselling by just like a penny. And people, of course, since he was local boy done well, people would line up to come to his gas stations and they'd get a free car wash. So it was one of those things. Let's buy from our guy. Anyway, the story is about how the National Energy Program was extremely damaging to Alberta. And I remember talking to my dad a lot about it and what they did. And they've always done this to Alberta. They hurt their oil industry. Remember when Trudeau said that Alberta had to sell its gasoline? This was back in, what was the year? Was that 74? Anyway, but they had to sell their gasoline at lower than market prices within Canada and take a bath on it, whereas it was really high worldwide. And I mean, that was terribly unfair, but that was, Alberta was forced into that. And, Alberta's really gotten a bad deal for a long time. And I don't blame Albertans for being super angry. And I think it's the right thing to put this to a referendum. That's the right thing to do. Let the people decide where they're going. And, I don't know what's going to happen in British Columbia. We've never had a movement for that. But as you mentioned, without any boosting or really official discussion about it, apparently the numbers sit around 28 or 30% that support that concept. And you're right, it would all be rural BC, because we have a big divide between the Lower Mainland, the island, and then the vast rural countryside of British Columbia. So we shall see what happens. We're all going to be watching, you guys, and it's exciting. I spoke in Red Deer at a Rebel News event back after I was first expelled from the Conservative Party for talking about saying that there were 0 bodies at the Kamloops grave. And I remember being there listening to all these different groups speaking, and I was like, wow, these Albertans are lively. Like, you guys, we don't have that kind of spunk here in BC. I'm telling you, it was noticeable. I was so impressed, like people speaking, a panel up on the stage, and they're arguing and having rigorous debate. And that's what I love. Like, really, like, let's get down to it. And people there seem to have more, they're more energized, and it was really noticeable, the difference. I remarked about that to my friend who was with me. I'm like, wow, these people really have it out, and in good-natured, good old-fashioned and principled positions, people had prepared things that they're thinking. They've got ideas that are thoroughly developed. It was fantastic. I was like, I need to live in Alberta. I think
We would take you.
I need this. This is more my style.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And on that note, we're going to jump over to our supporters and keep you around for a little bit. But I did reach out to you for our April 11th event. You won't be able to physically make it because you're going to be in session, but you're going to prepare a speech for us. And this particular event in Red Deer is going to be about political action takers like yourself. You created a whole party in order to do what you need to do and get your word out there. I'm very honored that you're going to be joining us there. Francis
Honored to
Whittleson
come.
will join as well. Mitch Sylvester from the ABP. We got Brad Williams from Saskatchewan Prosperity Project. So we're going to get a lot of people in the western side of Canada who are action takers, political action takers like yourself. I'm very pleased about you joining us for that one. I wish you could make it in person, but I get it. You're going to be in session. You got to use what you got as your party and keep building that. But I'm looking forward to your speech on that one. So you want to say anything last messages to Albertans, and then we'll jump over to our supporters with you.
Just super impressive that the province has gotten to this phase, and you're going to have that vote and let the people speak about the future of their province. It's super important. And in many ways, I think you're leading the way in Canada for demanding a change to, even if it results in a serious wake-up call to Ottawa. We need to make some changes here. It's not working. It's not working for you. And I don't think a lot of things are working for British Columbia either.
Well, here's hoping that optimism and that strength continues. I do believe we're going to get to that referendum. I can't predict the future and what that outcome is going to be, but I can tell you, as you noticed, we're going to work hard. Albertans are a different breed. We deal with bulls and cows and horses and oil and land. We're tough out here, so we can handle it. So I'm looking forward to having you on our show again soon, and then have you on that stage with us in Red Deer, April 11th. So hang on, and we'll be right with you.
Okay.
Right there you are, Alberta, Canada. Okay, we have an action taker, an actual action taker. Kicking butt. If you want to join the Levine Show and subscribe and like and share and click that little button for the alarm to be notified, that'd be great. And if you want to support the show and become a member, you can go to levineshow.com as well and go there to keep up to date on everything, like the movie that we're releasing, the events that we're releasing, the tours that we're doing. We're doing lots of things to get out there to meet you and share information. And as you heard there, April 11th, we've got quite a few political action takers going to be on the stage in Red Deer. This will be Legacy Place. We've already booked that up. So stay tuned for that as well.
Yep. Anyway, looking forward to see you there. See you in our locals area. But otherwise, everyone, hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you.
Take care of each other. Love you all very much. And God bless.